The premise of my channel is that if I film as I'm working to show how I do things and why I do things the way I do, that other people might be interested in how I've achieved the results I get. And so this is not the video for the true beginner. I'm Beth. Let's Free Motion Quilt. Other than that, the two things I want to show you for sure are how we pull the thread up in the middle of the work where both pieces of thread are on top, and then you start there with tiny stitches so it won't pull out, and then work up to the size stitch you want. And I like to use those threads as a handle, as I've said before, and those tiny stitches are reliable as long as you don't just do a couple. You know, when you're starting out you want to do fairly long. I'm not sure what they recommend, if they say 4 or 5 stitches. I tend to err on the side of caution. I would probably do more like 7, 8, 9 real little ones, and then go to the size you want. The biggest time saver that I know of is to hop from place to place on your work without cutting threads and pulling them back up to the top. In order to do this, you need to be sure that you don't have your top thread still hooked on your bobbin finger, and that you still begin with the tiny stitches. On a piece like this, it's not such a big deal, but if you're working on a dozen or more pieces, such as to make purses, and you're using different colored threads to highlight different parts of your design, so you want to hop around each one with black thread to highlight little flowers or whatever details you're doing in black on each one, and you don't want to take the time to cut threads and pull up. This works very well. I've done it for a long time. I'm not sure if it's something that everyone does. I try to be careful not to sew over those threads, because once you end up picking them out, you've created another time-consuming element. I tend to do things my own way. I tend to have a different take on a lot of things, and while I hope you're interested in what I have to say, I don't begin to assume that I'm doing things the right way or the best way. They're just the right way for me. I wanted to show you what I mean by freeing your thread, your top thread, from the bobbin case, and here I am doing it in the course of showing something else. My machine likes to hold on to that top thread, and if I start sewing with it there, it just piles up thread and makes a big mess and jams up my machine. If your machine does this, you're probably used to pulling that out already. And so if you want to just start up free motion quilting in another area without cutting your threads and pulling them back up to the top, you need to get a feel for whether that's free. And you'll know, because the piece will pull around very easily without very much resistance. When it's caught in there, there's resistance and it doesn't want to pull, because you have that extra top thread going back down, making it appear as if 3 threads are coming out of the bobbin. I've often called myself my own apprentice because of my awareness that the little functional items were supporting the sewing room, the equipment, all of the different kinds of paints and supplies and materials that I've wanted to experiment with. And free motion quilting is still one of the most versatile and beautiful processes I know to make fiber work really, really beautiful. And 37 to go. I don't know a better way to get good at it than to just do it.